I stand by my decision to ask for a prenup in this relationship. I will have a prenup in my marriage.
So last time we talked about the prenup and everything, I just wanted to have another eye look at it.
I think the hardest part about having the conversations about finances and the prenup is I just felt like in a relationship, I understand that like some people are worried about getting a divorce and someone taking their money from them or whatever it is, but for me, I just feel like if you're committed to a marriage and you know that you want to be with the person for the rest of for your lives, I just don't worry about that type of thing.
It's a tough conversation to navigate, right? I've never been married, he's never been married. We're navigating this new space. We talked about it in the pods about the prenup. So he was very aware beforehand that I was going to introduce this topic to him and his family. It's important to me for us to be aligned in finances and to grow together, but to go into it very well prepared and knowing if the worst thing happens, that we went into it getting what we desired back, right? Getting what we went into it back at the end of the day. It's kind of just the modern way of doing things. At the end, it felt like a little icky because it was so rushed at the end, but I am glad I stood on business and said what I needed to say about our finances and what I desired in that relationship.
For me, whoever I end up with and whoever I marry, I want to be with them until, we grow old together and die together. So I don't really think about prenups because I'm more focused on making it work no matter what.
Well, politics.
Politics?
What about politics?
I'm not super big into politics. I don't have a strong stance on it, if I'm being honest.
Watching the conversations back about politics is a little cringe, right? I felt like I was protecting Devin a lot. He didn't want to talk about his views on camera. So I'm trying to navigate it in a way where I'm not outing him in any way, but I'm standing in my truth.
Yeah, I definitely see where Virginia's coming from with our talks about politics. I can see how she feels like we're maybe not seeing eye to eye on things, and I understand that, but I also think in a relationship, you can make things work where you don't see completely eye to eye, and I don't think we were so far apart that it would be concerning.
I'm glad that we went through the reunion and I was able to speak a little bit more about my beliefs. It's hard in relationships as you kind of figure those things out together. We did connect emotionally before we learned these things about each other, and partially because he didn't want to say it on camera.
I just think that we had a few things that we didn't see perfectly aligned with, and I think that's okay in a relationship. You make it work and you figure out how you can make work in a relationship and in a marriage. So
when we got back to Minnesota, we learned a little bit more about that. And then I learned that it was a hard no for me after that. So, you live, you learn, you love another day, but I'm happy about how that turned out.
Devin, do you take Virginia to be your lawfully wedded wife?
I do.
Virginia, do you take Devin to be your lawfully wedded husband?
I love you so much.
Devin and I didn't say I do at the altar. He said yes, I said no. I'm really confident about that decision. I waited a lot. I loved him, we got there emotionally, but ultimately I want to have kids who love people and are inclusive and all of those things, and I want them to be raised in a household that are very clear on their values, and that's important to me.
Looking back and talking with her, I do understand her hesitation, but I just feel like I might have been a little misled on it just because throughout the whole experience, I felt like she was so ready to get married, and every time we spoke about it, she was like, yes, I'm all in, and then towards the end, it kind of changed up a little bit. But if you have hesitations, it's an experiment where it's a very short amount of time, so I get it, but I felt like it could have been just like maybe cold feet, but for her, I wasn't the right person, and I have to live with that.
With Virginia, I could see her being my wife, but I know there's something that I don't think she's fully telling me yet.
Is there any one moment looking back that I think I could have done differently? Maybe speaking a little bit more about politics and just making sure that even if we're not on the same page, we're on the same page about whether we're going to be able to commit to each other and still get married, regardless of the differences we had. And I don't think that I pushed hard enough, and I was like, I'm not huge into politics, and I just think that her saying what she had to say to me, I didn't comprehend it as well, or like, I feel like I could have did a better job of explaining myself so we could have made that work.
I do a lot differently. We opened up a lot in the pods. I learned a lot about myself. Even thinking back to it now, I learned that like protection is a very big thing to me. Loyalty is a really big thing for me. There was so much that I learned about myself through the process, and that's such a big thing when you're entering into a marriage, that I would show up a more confident self. And I think that would change the experience entirely for me.
I just refuse to tell myself that I'm never gonna play basketball again. Like, I don't care how bad it hurts, I'm not gonna stop. I took 2 ibuprofen before practice, and I doubled it, it was 4. So then it turned from 4 to 8 to 12 to 16 to 20.
One thing I do want to clear up is that I never said at all that I have an ibuprofen addiction. I think a lot of people took it, maybe one person said that and ran with it. It wasn't an addiction, it was a dependency where I felt like I was in a lot of pain, and the only thing that was helping relieve that pain was the ibuprofen. I went through a lot dealing with my back and my hips, and that's what caused me to turn to the ibuprofen, but it absolutely wasn't an addiction. I was dependent on it. So I just wanted to clear that up. I am not an addict or not addicted to any ibuprofen.